Hello. Hey. Dr. T here today. I'm going to come at you a little bit differently today. We're not going to really cover anything health-wise this time. We're going to be covering questions. Questions that you ask before you go on a date. I mean, most things I've looked at or read, they always talk about the questions you ask while you on the date. I think, and I know for a fact, that you should ask questions before you get on a date. This may determine whether or not you even want to go on a date. Let me adjust this camera a little bit. There we go. Might determine whether or not you even want to go on a date or not. My youngest baby girl, and I have 6 of them. 2 of them are married. I'm looking to get the rest of them married, of course. But she had told me one day she went on a date. So I asked her a question. Did you ask some questions? Did you ask them this and ask them that? She looked at me like, no. I'm saying, well, why not? You need to ask these questions before you go on a date. So, over a period of time, when you first meet somebody or exchange numbers, you may talk to them on the phone a dozen times or more. And during these conversations, you need to get and work in questions about this person that you can determine whether or not you even want to go out on a date with them or not. These questions should be written down and a date put on side of them. Because if the person lies about any of the information and he comes back later on and say, oh, I'm sorry, I meant to say something else. If they lie about one thing, they'll lie about another thing, they'll lie about another thing, they'll keep lying. So you write them down and put the date down and possibly the answer they gave you as well. So that when it comes back on them, you'll know that, hey, you lied to me 4 or 5 times. And if you got a liar, they're going to keep on lying. These questions that you ask them could be done over a period of time. And they should be done subtly, meaning that you don't pop them a whole bunch of questions like you turning them into a drill sergeant or something, or they got arrested and you're going to ask them a lot of questions. Now, I've used these questions for myself also, and I found out a lot of helpful information about, the young lady. And it was before we went out on a date. So asking these questions set down the groundwork for whether or not you even want to go out on a date with them or not. And I'm going to read these questions out to you later on. But you don't want to drill the person, like I said, and you want to subtly put these questions in the normal conversation. What's your daddy name? I don't know. Where your daddy live? I don't know. Do your daddy have a vehicle? I don't know. Have you ever met your daddy? No, I never met my daddy before. And, oh yeah, by the way, you have a nice day. So like I stated, you don't want to drill the person. You got to work these questions into the conversation. It's like if the guy is on the phone and he says that, oh, the best car I ever had was a Chevy. It was nice. Chevrolet. It was nice. It was a blue one and it was pretty good. You can work on a conversation. Oh, that's nice. I wish I wanted the red one. And what kind of car you have now? So you can work it into the conversation versus drilling the questions to him if you want to find out what kind of vehicle he have. And if that's one of the questions you're going to ask him, he already brought up the topic. You can ask about it, and you're not drilling the person. It's part of the conversation. There's also something that's called quid pro quo, meaning that if you ask a question, I get to ask a question. You ask a question, I get to ask a question. And the definition of quid pro quo, sometimes giving and receiving something from someone, or the exchange or trade or swap of information. So if he asks a question, like say, well, how old are you? And you say, well, I'm 35. How old are you? So it's easy to come back once he asks a question, quid pro, you can come back at him with the same question without trying to work it into the conversation. And that's an easier way of going about it also. But you also know that you never give up your address. You always meet in a public place if you do go on a date. You don't give up your birth date, your driver's license number, your social security number, none of this information. If somebody wants to know that information, but you never give up none of that information. You always meet in a public place as well. It's like if you ask the person, is he gay? I mean, it's a legitimate question. Most guys now come out the closet and, be proud of who they are. And some guys go both ways. They mess with women, mess with guys. And if you're getting to know somebody, you might want to know if he's gay or not. I just want to ask you, are you gay? Well, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm gay. I'm just different. And I like experimenting and trying new and different things. But for me, it's something about a man that's sweaty and the testosterone and the feeling I have holding muscles and muscular. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a little peanut butter. You don't always have to have peanut butter and jelly all the time. You can just have some peanut butter. And I don't feel though there's nothing wrong with that. Now I've had relationship with women, and I even have a baby girl. She just didn't understand me. I was trying to explain to her that I'm different and I like different things and I like experimenting. And that's probably one of the reasons why she left me alone. But I still see my baby girl every so often. But now I think I'm going to go with strictly women. I'm changing who I am and changing the things that I did before. And so I just want to let you know I like you a lot. I like the conversation we having. And I just want you to know that I'm a changed and different person if you would like to continue seeing me. Or I'm sorry, talking to me. Now, the only way I can really describe this to you, that if you find out something about this young man or this person that you're trying to see, and they give you a signal or signs that something's wrong or they lied to you, run. Can't say it any better than that. You run. If that person is lying to you, sound like he's coming out the closet, anything else that's on your list of questions that you think is wrong, or he might sound like he's hiding something that don't want to tell you, you run. You get on your bike and you take off and you run. And you pedal as fast as you can. You get out of that thing. When they try to call you, hang up the phone, tell them I don't want to talk to them anymore, see them anymore, but you run. A quick story is that I met a girl when I was in high school, and she had just came to the school about halfway into the year, and she was gorgeous. She was fine. From as far as I was concerned, back in those days, she was just fine. So I asked her, I said, well, what door do you leave, and can I walk you home? She said, sure. She leaves out this door here, and it's okay for me to walk her home. So I walked her home. It was only a block away from the school, and we was chit-chatting a little bit, didn't get too far. And by the time we got to the apartment where she lives at, she was staying with her aunt and her uncle, she just stopped in the middle of the conversation, looked up at the apartment and said, I can't stand them. I hate them. I burned this building down. I burned it down. And I looked at her and said, okay, I gotta go, and I'll see you later. I'll talk to you later. And as I was walking away, she was still following me and saying that, can't we finish talking and can't we get to know each other and, things of that nature. I said, yeah, we can do that, but I gotta go now. I'll talk to you later. So she was still talking to me as I went about 25 feet from her, from the point she gave me that conversation about burning the apartment down. And she still was coming. So when I turned the corner, I was running, boom, 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 boom. And just to make sure she didn't follow me, I was zigzagging down one block, zigzagging another block, zigzagging another block. And, I had to get away from there. I ran. So when you get those signals that something's wrong, you run. Can't tell you any better than that. You run. And for me, having a lot of women in my family and 6 baby girls myself, I don't know, I came to the conclusion that everybody normally is supposed to have 5 senses, but I think females has a 6th sense. That's the emotional sense. So you have the sense to hear, to touch, to taste, to smell, and to see. So everybody has 5 senses. But for females and women, they have a 6th sense, that emotional sense. So they get hooked up into a guy because he got muscles, or he looks pretty, or he has a nice car, or may even have a nice house. But if you don't ask him these questions and find out what's upstairs in his brain, you're going to get hooked up in some muscles, a car, a nice apartment, and a handsome-looking guy, and get hooked up into some drama. I mean, it's the same thing as a guy have kids, and he said, yeah, I got 6 kids by 6 baby mamas, but I don't do nothing for them because I don't really like the mamas that much. So you don't have any kids, and you probably want to have a kid, but that's the perfect person to have a kid by. So you be baby mama number 6, and he won't do anything to help your kids. And if you do have some money, the money goes to them 5 babies that he has before you, before you even get to yours. So you have to ask these questions before you go out on a date with this guy, because it's very important. So I'm going to run these questions down to you, and they're not in any particular order, but the first group of questions is very important. And like I said, you can do quick pro when he asks you a question. You come back with one of these questions that he may be asking you, that he asks you, and you can come back right back at him. As soon as he asks you, you can answer, then give him the question. Same question back at him. Or during the course of a conversation, as he bring up stuff, you can slip the questions in also. But then when none of that works, or you do get some of the questions, you're going to have to come out straight out to the point, shoot from the hip, and just ask him the question. But like I said, you got to write it down, write the date down, and write down what he says. Because if he lied to you about one question, run. All right, the question is as follows. How old are you? Do you have any kids? Or have you ever been engaged or married? Do you have a job? Have you ever been arrested? Do you have a car? Do you rent or own your house? And he might be sleeping in his mama's basement. And say, well, I'm just there to take care of my mama. And the basement is bigger than the bedroom I have upstairs. So I'm just in my mama's basement for now. And that's where I'm at. I mean, if that's what you like and that's what you want, that 6th sense to start kicking in. Did you go to high school and college? So then after you finish those basic questions, which you should know from that point on, so you run, we can do some serious questions. And when he answers these, you can, like I said, you can find out what's going on. Have you ever had any sexual transmitted diseases? Who's scared to ask that question? Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Do your family have any hereditary disorders? Now, that was an important question. I got a quick story for you on that one. There's a young lady I met years ago, probably a good 30 years ago, and she had these 2 handicapped kids. So I asked her, why your 2 kids are handicapped? She said that her boyfriend had a disorder that he never told her about. He already had 1 kid that was handicapped, and they told him if you have any more kids, he's going to produce nothing but kids that's handicapped. I mean, 100% handicapped and disabled. So she said that after she had the first kid, she didn't pay no mind and just thought it was one of those things. She had another kid by the same dude, and the next baby came out the exact same way. So when she was inquiring about the doctor tested her, and he finally had to come out clean and said, yes, I have a disorder where I'm producing, they said I will produce handicapped kids if I ever produce any. So do you want to know if they have any genetic problems? Sure you do. Sure you do. Then the next group of questions is more emotional questions where you get into his head and find out what kind of person he is. You can ask a question like, if you had 1 month to live, what would you do? Or where would you go? Then you can ask questions as far as her brothers and sisters. Do you have any brothers and sisters? Which you can run that into the first series of questions. You can ask them, do you dream, and what do you dream about? What is your longest term relationship that you ever have? And then you tap into that. Are you looking for a long-term relationship? What do you enjoy? You can also hit them with something like, what did you do yesterday? Have you ever been in a fight? And, why did you get in a fight? You can also ask them an emotional question like, do you cry? Do you like the job where you're working at right now? You can ask them a question like, well, what did you do last Saturday? These are some questions that you need to ask before you go out on a date. You got to find out who this person is while you're on the phone talking to them over and over again for 10, 11, 12 times to find out what kind of person they are before you go out on a date. And if they lie, they say something you don't like or something that's out of the ordinary, you run. You don't talk to him anymore. You hang up the phone. I don't care how cute he is, how many muscles he got, how nice a car he got, how good a job he got. You run. Because that sixth sense kick in for that emotional gene for women, and then nobody can tell you anything because now you hooked. This is Tim saying, enjoy your life, protect your baby girls if you're daddy like me, and I will see you on the other side.